So, if you don't know, well, if you follow the channel for any length of time, you probably know. I am the infamous Persona 5 hater. I do not like the game. I love Persona 3. I love Persona 4. I do not like Persona 5, and I've stated before my varying reasons as to why. Everyone wants me to see the Persona 4 teaser trailer. Going in, I think I have to say, Golden is probably my favorite game in the series. So already, it's got high standards for me, high standards. But we'll check it out. We'll see if it lives up to the expectations of a big Persona 4 fan. Yeah, now you're here. Now you're here. I turned it way down. I guess I made it too quiet. So the one thing that I've seen everyone talking about is specifically this part here. Specifically this part here. So it probably, this part, I want to say, because I want to be as fair as possible, this is a very early release. This is a teaser trailer, so the game's not done yet. The game's not done yet. The part that everyone on Twitter has been freaking out about is that this part does not look very good. The rest of the trailer is absolutely gorgeous, though. Like this classroom here, this classroom is gorgeous, and this is the sort of thing that I expect from modern Persona games. And so that is a big, immediate question. And the answer is, the game is so far out from release it doesn't really matter, because even if it's true, they can still have time to fix it. This right here is gorgeous. This right here is not. But the game is not finished, exactly. So there's still time to fix it. If the game looks like this on release, then there's cause for outcry. But the game does not look like that because the game doesn't exist yet. I've even seen people saying like, "Oh, they're doing Persona 4 Revival instead of Persona 6." Like, no, Persona 6 is set for it was set for a 2025 release, probably 2026. So Persona 6 is coming. It's not like they're working on Persona 4 instead of Persona 6. That's just not a mischaracterization. Persona 6 is still coming, exactly. So to say that they're working on Persona 4 instead of Persona 6, that's not a good argument. That's a mischaracterization. They're a company. They have different teams for different projects. Persona 6 is set for 2025 or 2026, and so it will probably come out before this game. People have crazy takes, yeah, and I think it's worth saying, especially with the recent Nintendo fiasco, there are people on both sides, right? With Mario Kart, there are people who will defend every decision Nintendo makes. If they charge $80 for Mario Kart, there are going to be people who say, well, it's worth $80. They charge $60 for Pokemon games whose graphics are not that great, and people will say, well, it's actually a lot better, well, actually, if you do this, well, actually, if you do that. But there are also people on the opposite side, where Nintendo can do literally anything, and they're just going to be like, oh, I hate Nintendo, Nintendo's an awful company, I don't like Nintendo. And Persona has the same thing, especially since Persona 5 has kicked it into the mainstream to such an extent. there are people who are such fanboys that they're just gonna be like, oh, Persona 4, oh my goodness, I love Persona 4, oh my goodness, remake, consume, but there are also gonna be people who just, it doesn't matter what they do, they're just gonna hate on it. And that's what I've seen here, is it feels like there's people on both sides, where the fanboys are like, oh, I love Persona 4, I can't wait for it to be remade. And then there are people on the opposite side who's like, oh, another remake, oh, I hate Atlas, oh, I hate Persona, oh, it's gonna be awful. And here's what I will say. Persona 4 Golden is a great game. I think it's $20, and it goes on sale all the time. Persona 3 was a dated game, and I think it deserved a remake. Persona 4 was getting a remake eventually, that much is obvious, but it doesn't need one. When I think about Persona 4, there's nothing that comes to mind as being dated or being inadequate for modern audiences. The only thing are just the quality of life improvements introduced by Persona 3 Reload, namely pointing out where to find social links. Because there are a few in Persona 4 and Persona 3 that are hard to find. And I get the appeal. I don't like games that you can't beat without help from online guides or being lucky. Yeah, I consider getting a Switch, but at the same time, seeing the game prices, I don't know if I want to spend that much among other reasons. Exactly. And I have to be honest, with the whole Nintendo situation, it really does feel like the debate is people who like Nintendo's, people who like the Switch 2 only like the Switch 2 because they had the money to buy it, and they want to justify their purchase to themselves. People who don't like the Switch 2 mostly dislike it because they can't afford it. Which is funny, and I'm not saying... I'm not saying that's an invalid reason for disliking it. I think that's a perfectly valid reason for disliking it, because I don't like the fact that I can't buy it. But it is funny how those people fall into those games. But at the same time, you have to admit, releasing a console with one game is a wild take. Releasing a console with literally one game. That's insane. That's insane. That is completely crazy. You're basically paying $600 for Mario Kart. That's it. You're paying $600 for Mario Kart. And if I like something, I'll say what I like. It sucks how the internet can't handle if you like something and still criticize it. Yeah, there's been a death of nuance. So when it comes to Golden, obviously if the game looks like this on release, then that's awful and it's not worth $70. But the upside that I wanted to get to earlier of the remakes is that they bring in new audiences. There are a specific type of Persona 5 fans, and you can call them tourists, and I think that's fair. I think it's completely fair to call them tourists or normies or whatever you like. But they feel averse to the older games due to their datedness. And due to the fact that it feels like a step down from what they experienced in Persona 5. And so most of the people who are excited about the Persona 4 remake are people who haven't played it, and who want to be introduced to the series, but don't want to take the graphical step down from Persona 5. Which, whether or not you think that's a valid reason, it doesn't change the fact that that's the truth. It doesn't change the fact that it's going to bring in more people to the series. And that's a good thing, ultimately. And it feels like a lot of the critiques are a bit shallow in the sense that no one really objects to a Persona 4 remake in theory. It feels like most of the complaints are about the timing of it. People don't want Atlus making Persona 4 Remake because they want them to be working hard on getting Persona 6 ready for development. Or they want Atlus to be working on Persona 1 and 2 remakes, because those games have been shoved down the memory hole, and you literally can't play them in the year of our Lord, 2025, on any modern console. You have to use an emulator. And I think that's a fair critique. I think it's a fair critique that Atlus has kind of shoved Persona 1 and 2 down the memory hole instead of actually working on them. And this is a theory. This is a theory. I think Atlus is working on a Persona 1 and 2 remake. I think the reason why a Persona 4 remake is coming out sooner is precisely because there's nothing about the game that merits change. Persona 4 is... I don't want to call it perfect. It's not perfect in the sense that it has no flaws. It's perfect in the sense that it fulfills its mission. It's perfect in the sense that it does everything that it sets out to do. It fulfills its objective. It's a complete game. It's a completed vision. And so because of that, there's really nothing that they need to change. Persona 4, after all, I mean, Persona 5 was built on the foundation of Persona 4. What Persona 5 is, it only is because of Persona 4. And so all Persona 4 needs is a graphical update. You don't need to change the mechanics. All you need to do is change out the models. You could even get away with reusing the same sound files. Because I know I was among the people who were upset that the Persona 3 voice actors weren't returning. And so I think the reason they're remaking Persona 4 is precisely because of how easy it is. It's just kind of easy money. And I don't say that as a critique. I say that because I think they're doing it because they can do it, and it doesn't cost them a lot to do it. I'm sure, I'm positive that they're working on Persona 1 and 2 remakes, but those games need major overhauls in terms of their gameplay, in terms of their dialogue, in terms of everything. Those games are extremely dated, and when they came out, they were hotly criticized. Easy job for Atlus B-Team devs. Exactly. Exactly. Any B-Team at Atlus can do what they need to do for Persona 4 Remake. Because they don't need to change anything. They don't need to change anything. They just have to copy and paste and increase the rendering. And so it's an easy side project. But Persona 1 and 2, they need major overhauls to their game design, to their content, to the writing, everything. Everything about those games needs to be overhauled. And so those are going to be longer projects. It's going to be a lot longer. It honestly wouldn't surprise me if the reason the Persona 4 remake is coming out so soon, or I say coming out so soon, you know, the GTA 6 teaser released not too long ago, and that game's not coming out till what, 2028? Have a rest of your day. Thank you, Steron, thank you. GTA 6 had their release trailer, and it's still not coming out for ages. And they haven't even given us a release date for Persona 4 Revival. I'm guessing probably the reason they haven't, it probably has to do with the fact that they don't have a firm release date for Persona 6, and they don't want the two to step on each other's toes. Because whether Persona 4 comes out before or after Persona 6, they're going to make sure that they don't interfere with each other. Which means not only coming out, they need to come out a few months apart from one another so that people don't get fatigued. Not in the least of which because the games have 70 hours of content minimum just to beat it, not to mention getting the true ending, doing side quests and stuff like that. They don't want to cut themselves in sales. Exactly. Exactly. And if you release the same product too frequently, people aren't going to like it. People aren't going to like it. But this is a deep cut, but that's what happened to Skylanders. That's what happened to Skylanders. They released a new game and a new line of toys every single year. People got tired of it. Sega's done that in the past before, no doubt, no doubt. So the games need to come out like at least a year apart. At least a year apart, because a Japanese salaryman is not beating Persona 4 Golden in a month. That's not happening. That's not how that works. And so it will be interesting to see how the situation resolves itself. This is so why I wonder if my reactions are interesting. Because it's not that I don't dislike that the remake is being made. I don't think anyone likes the remake in concept, except for the fact that it's basically the same game except 3 times more expensive. Unless he's speedrunning. Yeah, unless he just calls off work for a week and does nothing but play Persona 4, which a lot of people are surely going to do in Japan. That's neither here nor there. My reaction to Persona 4 is not disdain. I don't think anyone dislikes the fact that a remake is being made. I think what people are objecting to is the timing of it. People don't like the timing of it because they feel like it's interfering with the timing of Persona 6. And because it's right off the heels of the Persona 3 remake. And because Persona 4 is itself not a very old game, and is available on all current consoles. Like, I played Persona 4 Golden on on Switch, and I think it's on... No, I don't think it's on PC, but it's on all major consoles. And so I think that what people are objecting to is how unnecessary it is. And I think people are worried that it's going to give people exactly that sort of persona fatigue that I was describing. But I don't think anyone dislikes it in theory, and I don't... As long as they don't utterly phone it in, which I never want to put it past a corporation to do that. As long as they don't utterly phone it in, it should be fun. It should be a fine game. Is it a necessary game? Does it need to exist? No, but it's probably going to net them money, and that's what their main objective is. And it's probably going to introduce more people to the series and hopefully increase the publicity of what I think is the best Persona game. Or at least my favorite. I hesitate to say best. Persona 3 and Persona 4 are always in a tight race in my mind. Especially because Persona 4 has a lot to say about modern politics and modern culture. And if people can receive that message or hear it, I think it would make people better. Though, of course, there's no guarantee they actually will hear it, and I think there's a high likelihood that they won't. That they would, in fact, willingly misconstrue the themes of the game to fit their own narrative. Because that's how people are. Not to mention localizers. Oh, localizers. Monsters. But those are my hot takes. Hot or cold as they may be. I'm so glad I got Persona 4 Golden just in case Persona 4 Revival is hot trash, Lamau. I can't blame you. Persona 4 Golden is clean. And like I said, the game is $20 and it's always on sale. It's always on sale, so it's very accessible. Like in the modern gaming climate, when games are being charged up to $90, I think my save was like 100 hours. You're getting over 100 hours of content for what is, relative to the market, basically free. It's such a good deal. It's such a good deal, and people don't... And that might be where a lot of the frustration is coming from, because I think people register it as being the end of an era. Where, it wasn't that long ago, we got 100 hours of content for $30, and now we're getting 40 hours of content for $80. Games are easy to run too when it comes to Persona. Yeah. Yeah, you can pick up and play. You can take it at whatever pace you like. It's very flexible. And so I think a lot of the frustration, not to go all psychoanalysis, but I think a lot of the frustration is just nostalgia. People are frustrated by it because it's a clear sign of how the gaming market has changed in the last 10 years. I think that's the key frustration. It's not just remake fatigue. It's not just Persona 5 tourists and normies. It's nostalgia. It's being upset with the gaming market as it is now compared to what it was just a few years ago. That's my take on it.